What's up? I'm Samy Kobrosly, the founder of Snacklins, here with Cullen Gilchrist, who is supposed to be introducing myself and Kevin Blesy as we talk to you about Snacklins. Cullen, go.
Thank you, Samy.
Anytime.
Appreciate the introduction.
Gotcha.
This is Samy Kobrosly,
Yep.
and this is Kevin Blesy with Snacklins. And we're going to hang out and chat today about Snacklins, about getting started, about the fun and the not so fun of growing a business from very small to not as small. And hopefully, when we listen to this in a couple of years, very large.
To the moon.
To the moon.
I guess to Mars now, because the moon's kind of bad.
This guy gets it.
So last
This guy
week.
gets it. Cool. Well, why don't we just start with an introduction beyond what you did, which is great. But will you introduce yourself, Kevin, and a little bit about Snacklins?
Yeah, so I'm Samy Kobrosly. I am the first employee of Snacklins, aka the founder, I guess. And yeah, I guess, as we'll probably talk about this later, but this is probably the best bar bet that has ever happened to us because someone bet me to make a vegan pork rind, and here I am today talking with you guys all about Snacklins.
Here we are, yes.
I'm Kevin Blesy, CEO of Snacklins. Came on board with Samy and team going on a year and a half, 2 years ago. Was in a lot of boring corporate jobs around business for most of my career and got more into the restaurant and food scene and saw a good product and a really exciting opportunity with Samy and came on board to grow the ship. Here we are.
Awesome. So, Samy, you founded the business when?
2015, 2016.
Gotcha.
It was a bar bet, so the rough date's a little bit fuzzy, but...
and then Kevin, you joined a year and a half ago.
Yep.
Gotcha. And so what are your roles now that you guys are doing?
So I feel like I'm good at just making snacks, so I stick with the product development. I gave myself a made-up officer role as chief snack bagger, but really I focus on product development and really making sure that we can manufacture and
CSB.
Manufacturing, yeah.
CSBO or CSB?
CSBO.
Good. All right, Kevin.
It depends on the day, which is kind of the nature of a business of this size, but a little bit of everything, which is the fun part. We have a team outside of Samy and myself that handles a lot of operations and marketing. I handle a lot of, the finance and accounting, which is the boring stuff, but the stuff you need to, keep the business moving forward, and a little bit of sales, a little bit of manufacturing, and just more than anything, setting targets and objectives and keeping everyone rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. That's what I do. So. That, and I talk to you guys and try to be cool with Samy. So, Samy, I know you're dying to tell us.
Let me tell you.
How'd you start the business? Tell us about the bar bet.
Let me tell you, so I'm a Muslim, right? And we don't eat pork because, Muslims, it's like, haram, you go to hell for that shit, right? And so as a joke, a buddy of mine bet me to make a vegan pork rind. And I was like, well, at that point I had kind of a reputation in the DC food scene for just making weird stuff as I staged at a bunch of different restaurants. And I said, no, might as well. I could probably figure this out. And so I tinkered. I worked on everything. I actually ate a pork rind. So looks like I'm going to hell. But I ate a pork rind to see
Is that the first time?
First time I ever had a pork rind. Yeah, I had it beforehand. It's also just like, I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But me being a Muslim, pig skins just didn't sound delicious to me, but that's its own separate thing. So long story short, bar bet worked out well. We one day created it. It was this kind of aha moment. Oh my gosh, they puffed up, and they were delicious. And we just started kind of snowball selling them, right? Like it was more or less one of those, hey, a friend of ours like, this is really good. You should come to our brewery this weekend. And we said, yeah. So we showed up to the brewery to get free beer and started giving out Snacklins. Next thing you know, someone from the store was like, hey, if you guys put this in a bag, nutritional labels, we could probably sell it. We said, oh man, awesome. Okay, cool. And it's just kind of snowballed since then. But I think part of that snowballing, we've realized that it wasn't the bar bet of the vegan pork rind, which is why people liked it so much. It's because it's a crunchy, delicious, salty snack that's low in calories. It's made with like real stuff. A six-year-old can pronounce the ingredients. And I think that's just kind of, where it started to kind of where we are now.
To where it is. Yeah. So did you want to start a food business? Was that your plan? So you were in radio before.
I did
you
radio.
Can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But did you want to do like a food business? Was that your plan? Or did you just get backed into it?
After after 10 years in radio, after Snoop Dogg gives you marijuana and Justin Bieber takes a selfie with you when he's like 14 years old, you've kind of hit your peak, right? Like I didn't really have anything else to do in the radio. So I think I was just looking for something else, and honestly, like, food really intrigued me. I think that if you had asked me 6 years ago, I probably wanted to, you know, be in a restaurant cooking, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, this just kind of stumbled on, and I realized that it kind of works out. People know this, but my mom worked in food manufacturing, right, for like 30 years, and so it's just this kind of full circle to me going back and like, crap, I'm in a food manufacturing facility all over again. So, yeah.
Our parents are probably disappointed, but
Very disappointed.
I mean, you know, go back 10 years for me, and I thought I wanted to be in restaurants. Kevin, did you want to be in food, or did this just kind of you meandered here as well? Because you were doing other stuff.
I was, like I said, I was kind of in the consulting investing world early on, which is great, kind of business training. But you know, at a certain point, I like to be working with companies that make things and employ people, as opposed to, you know, your output being service and slides and Excel, which I still do a fair amount of. But yeah, after doing those things, I actually landed at And Pizza. So I spent 3 years there, kind of building that. The empire that's now 40 or 50 stores.
And that did not dissuade you from
No, I mean,
good.
It's definitely, there's pros and cons, right? I think the biggest things are, again, just working in a job that, you know, you can see the output and you can really grow it from a people perspective, which is exciting. And also just having more diversity of backgrounds and experiences on a team. You know, in restaurants or a chain restaurant, you're talking about operations, and marketing, and finance and accounting, and, you know, all those people with very different backgrounds working together, which, you know, can be good, can be frustrating, but overall I think is a lot more interesting day to day. And then just kind of connected through shared connections with our investors a year and a half ago. Wasn't looking to get out of restaurants necessarily. We were doing cool things, but it's a new fun opportunity, sort of similar, sort of different.
So I always say this, you know, I was drawn to food because it was real and you're producing things, and I was less interested in the kind of other industries than the ones you're talking about because it was not as tangible. And that's what I loved about it, the manufacturing, the hiring of people, the engagement with those people, and then people eat it, you know, and they feel a certain way, and that I think is a powerful all the way around that, you know, makes me feel good. I know it makes you guys feel good too. So, you know, in getting started with the business, the first thing you had to do was make the product, of course, right? So you made it, but then it's, you got to get someone to buy it. And so you sold it. The question I like to ask is, like, what was the first sale? Like, when someone actually paid you money for it?
Oh, it was at the brewery. That's why we knew this shit was like, it was literally like that following weekend that...
What brewery?
3 Stars Brewery.
Nice.
in DC. They had invited us out for like some Christmas market they had. And we were just buddies with them. They're like, hey, come on by, get some free beer, give out your pork rinds. And we showed up, and I think that's when we realized that, because I guess here, you're talking about that first sale. That was exclusively because it was an oddity item. We were a local brand at some brewery selling vegan pork rinds. Like, everyone that was drunk wanted to try them, right? So, like, that was obvious. I think that moving forward, that vegan pork rind shtick really, it was a good hook. You know what I mean? Like, it hooked people because they were like, oh, wow, we've heard of everything else. I don't know how many other cookie brands we can see, but, like, holy crap, like, we've never seen this. That hooked them in. And then I think what really kind of, that's what got, like I say, like the Yes Organics of the world to pick us up, right? The vegan pork rind.
Were they your first store?
No, technically it was like kind of a mix. We were like at a couple juice bars and some locals at the same time. But Yes was when when I finally was like, oh crap, it's like, we need help. Like, we actually need to do this. I can't just do this one time every week, you know, on my night off. Like, I actually need to do this. But with them, we realized, just because they even came to us like, this is selling a lot better than we thought a vegan pork rind would. And it was because the audience was seeing the vegan pork rind, but they were turning the bag over, and they were buying it because it was low in calories and it was simple ingredients. And then that's kind of how we realized, like, oh, wow, that's what's reeling them in. The vegan pork might be the hook, but really the reason they're buying it and they're coming back is because it's low in calories and it's, like, simple, fresh ingredients. So that's kind of how that first sale into the second sale kind of evolved.
To the third, yeah. No, very cool.
Now we're at sale number 4. So we've sold 4 bags of chips.
How many stores do you sell into right now?
Great question.
You're not a math guy.
I'm not the math guy.
Plus or minus, we'll call it 1,000 right
now. It's pretty good. It's 4 digits.
Yeah, sure.
Not bad. Not bad compared to the brewery.
1,000 times more.
Yeah.
1,000 times more. That's fantastic growth. Yeah. So we are at the Snactery right now.
Yep.
This is where you guys are manufacturing, running the office, growing the business. Why did you guys decide to open a factory and to manufacture this product?
Honestly, it came the fact that I did what everyone else does. You get to a certain point that you're like, I can't make this myself anymore. I need to find a co-manufacturer or help. Upon looking with everyone and talking to a handful of them, I realized that the fresh ingredients was what was going to hold us back. That no one was making chips using fresh ingredients. Like, outside of a potato chip, nothing else is really thrown in there raw or used in its raw state to make a thing. They're using a powdered version
like
of
the
it.
big
puff,
co-manufacturer.
Yeah, and the big, like, any puff, any healthy snack you can think of, if it says it's made with peas, it's pea powder. Don't let them lie to you, right? Like,
I never.
Yeah.
Lied to
Okay. Yeah. But it's like we were using fresh ingredients, and so that kind of hit me. And it was really like, wow, we will never find someone to make this for me. So it was either do or die, and I either had to figure out a way to make more pellets, which, I mean, Cullen can back me up on this one. I literally just started YouTubing, Googling, anything I could. I was talking to like 20 or 30 companies in China and India at any given time just to figure out what I needed. I ended up going to China, not really having an idea. Like, I knew I needed these kind of machines, but I didn't even know if they would work. And I literally brought a suitcase filled with like seasoning, you know what I mean? And I showed up in China and was like, started testing out all these different machines. We finally found like a process in which semi worked, and then we had to modify it. And so yeah, it was we didn't manufacture because it made us feel good. We manufactured out of necessity, I guess, you know. But now in hindsight, I mean, you look over the past year, right? And when other people that would work with the co-packers, when they were the small guy, they all got cut out, you know, and they were going months of out of stock just because they didn't make anything themselves. Like, we make everything up until it's fried, seasoned, and bagged. Right?
You're doing that all
Season
here.
is easy. We do everything else here. And so when we talk to these guys, they're like, wow, there is no holdup. We can just be like, find us some time on your line. We got the seasoning for you. We've already made all the pellets. You know, here you go.
Yeah, Kevin, consulting background, been a year and a half. I'm sure you've looked at, you know, the pros and cons of manufacturing. You know, with the stuff Samy said, does that resonate with what you're learning and what you had learned before? And
yeah, I sort of went through the same process after the fact, because I started thinking the same thing of, okay, there has to be someone who can do this at scale better than us, cheaper than us, and I've had not as many conversations as you did years ago, but enough with these guys where they just kind of look the other way when you're saying, oh wait, there's fresh mushrooms, there's fresh vegetables in this thing. It's not something we really do. So that was just one aspect of it. The other is just the control aspect, and, you know, down the line, if you want to keep growing this business and have it look attractive to outside investment or acquirers someday, there's something strategically valuable about the fact that we're the only ones doing it this way.
Yeah.
And sure, someone can reverse engineer pretty much any product, and they'll try, but it'll take a while. Right? It's not as easy as, oh, just go find the co-man that Snacklins is using, and we'll just go do that, put a different label on it. So I think there's huge value to that as well. It certainly comes with its headaches. I mean, it's more capital intensive. You're running a manufacturing plant day to day. It's not on autopilot. We don't just run a brand, but we think there's strategic value to that long term.
you have a team.
We've got 2 engineers in the other room who work for major snack brands that are looking at our line being like, shit, I've never seen anything like this. How does this, like, we've been working since 7 a.m., so if I swear a lot, that's why.
And that's your advantage.
Yeah, that's the advantage. But no, and honestly, I think part of it too is if you go out there, you buy 12 different varieties of the same snack, right? They're all, let's say, they're all going to taste the same. They're all going to taste bland. And then you try Snackers, you go, wait, this tastes different. That's because we own it from the beginning to the end, you know? Yeah. And if you wonder why your shit tastes like everyone else's, it's because you're using the same manufacturer as everyone else. Like,
I wonder that all the time.
Up, yeah.
This is a theme I kind of keep hearing, is I was talking to Luis from Caribe Juice yesterday, and he built a factory down in the Dominican Republic. And the conversation was around like, yeah, that was really hard, you know? And I was talking about, yeah, like, we built Union Kitchen, which, you know, has stores and distribution and then the kitchen and all this other crap, and, you know, it was really hard. And the conversation comes around to, and that's why we feel really good about this business, because it was really hard. We built something, you know, that gives us an advantage. It's a defensible advantage. It's challenging for kind of a corporation just to come running in and take that. And I think that's huge. And I think you guys have that, which is pretty cool. So anyways, you have a team. which I think teams are advantages. I think Union Kitchen has a great team. I think Snacklins has a great team. We get to work on stuff together, which is fun. What is the team? How do you guys structure it? So, you've got you guys, somewhere up here or here or there.
I'm here. Yeah. I'm below the camera.
I was going to say here, but then I was like, Jesus.
Pedro and Sylvia are up here.
Yeah, Pedro and Sylvia are up here. I'm like way down here.
We hang out here.
Yeah, so how many people on the team? How many people on the team?
Yeah, so we have about
20?
5 or 6, in corporate administrative computer roles, like myself, and more like 12 or 15 on the production staff, which actually make the product the important part.
Gotcha.
Samy can talk to the relationships there and how we've grown the production staff over time, but on the admin or the corporate side, we keep it pretty tight, and that's again, not to sound too businessy, but that's the exciting thing about scaling a business like this. We've had the same people on board. I'm the newest guy. We've had the same people for 2+ years, and sure, we're going to add resources over time as we grow, but I still think we could, double, triple the business this year, which after doing it last year, and still have the same team. There's a lot of leverage off of, a base of people. You don't need double the people to double the revenue, but that's kind of within the corporate side, and then on the production side, it's grown over time and it's definitely evolved. But we have those strong leaders on top.
Yeah,
also
you got to take care of your people, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to take care of people. You walk through there right now, and if you saw us when we were at Union Kitchen, and we had 4 or 5 employees, 4 of those people still work with us today.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I think part of just taking care of the people around you and really, understanding if someone has to be here at 6 a.m., I'll be here at 6 a.m. too, and just being that go-getter is kind of, I don't know.
I think a neat thing about what you guys have done is, obviously you're an investor in this business, right? You're an investor in this business, and that you own part of the business. And the people you're talking about that are producing the product, some of them are as well.
Yeah. I look at it this way, and I think I just gave this quote to somebody else, so I'm going to rip it off again.
Good. We'll use it.
Use it again. Come up before them. That's how you get out. So...
This is live, by the way.
Live! I was going to do the, fuck it, we'll do it live! But never mind, that's probably out of your guys' references. Yes, the question was about... I started talking about...
That is a great YouTube clip.
That's a great clip. But yeah, as they grew with us, we knew we had to grow with them. You know what I mean? I look at it like a team, right? When the Lakers won the champion, I don't know shit for sports, so this is good. All right, I don't know anything about sports, but all right. When the Lakers
we can edit this later.
When the Lakers won the championship, okay, they didn't give just LeBron the ring. You know what I mean? Everyone got a ring. Even the person that plays the mascot, that's a full-time employee, got a ring. The secretary who answers, she got a ring, right? Because it takes a whole team and organization to get to that championship. And I look at it that way. You know what I mean? It's taking a lot more. Yes, I may have been the first idiot to agree to do this for a living, but there was a bunch of other people that sacrificed and joined up too, and I think that we're all equal in this, and we're all, and that's it,
Future episodes of this, I want to do one on just you in China. Whole 1 hour conversation.
Oh, dude, I got hit by a car twice in one night in China after a bender on my last day. It was good. I'll tell you a lot of good stories.
Whose fault was that?
That was mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I met a bunch of new people because they picked me up and they helped me walk to the next bar, and then I hung out with them for the rest of the night.
It's an allegory.
Yeah. And then I whatever.
Yeah. Another day, and another would be the other people on the team. We have some good characters here.
Some great characters.
I'm looking at you,
Just remind me.
John.
I'll make sure I still have the sweater too with a tire mark on it. So it's good. It reminds me.
You should frame that. You get the museum glass.
Mm-hmm. What was this? Well, let me tell you guys.
Yeah. You put it right there.
When someone tells you to get on a conference call at 4 p.m. U.S. time when you're in China, I would not recommend trying to stay up and party until it happens. That's the story. That's
or maybe you do recommend it. All right, so thinking of things we recommend. You guys have a team. You have a great team. You've kind of gone through some of the things that you guys like doing. Quick, one thing you recommend for building a team, and then one thing you don't recommend. So something that maybe you got wrong and you learned from. Hopefully you learn from.
Don't hire your fucking friends or your family. Don't hire your friends. Straight up.
I fired my brother 3 times.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here, we're an anomaly here, right? As in the production staff seems to be pretty well connected, and they somehow work. But in my personal opinion, anytime I've had any friend of mine that's like, "Yo, man, I want to come work for Snacklins. We've gotten to a point in which I go, get the hell out of here. And so just like, don't do that. Like, that's my one thing, is just don't hire for, like, because at that point you have a bias, and really you should be going in not saying, okay, I feel like we work well together. It should be, what do they offer that I don't offer? Like, as weird as it sounds, Pedro and Sylvia have done so successful because they offered a bunch of skills that I did not offer whatsoever.
And Pedro and Sylvia are on the production team.
Side, yeah.
And they're the first employees, or just
Sylvia was number 2, and I think Pedro was number 4.
Not bad.
So.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. But that's it. Like, so I would just say, like, you know, like, you want to fill in the gap of something you can't do. And so I kind of explain to people this, like, your job as an entrepreneur is, great, you have a great snack. Now your job is to learn all about the packaging and the boxes, and you learn all that until you're selling enough snacks that everything that you learn, you hire someone else to do that, and then you go start learning something new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
And similar to that, don't bring anyone onto the team who wouldn't do any job that is necessary, especially at this scale. I mean, there can't be any ego or living above any tasks. It just doesn't work, and that doesn't fly here. And everyone we have who's on marketing or production or sales or ops, they'll go do anything else. You know, it's go drive 3 hours to go somewhere in Pennsylvania, go talk to someone, or everyone get here to offload these pallets and repack them because they have to go out tomorrow. Everyone will drop a hat and do it, and that's I think a pretty easy thing to suss out in interviewing new people, meeting new people to see if they'd actually fit with your team. I think you can, based on their past experiences and how they talk about what they want to do, I think you can get a read on them pretty quickly.
Do you make them unload a truck when you interview them?
I mean, I still remember, Jeremy does a lot of our marketing and e-commerce, and he runs that pallet jack a lot better than I did when we had an angry truck driver here like a year and a half ago, like my second week, and I was like, I'm not as good at this. He's like, get on the way, and just like started going. So everyone can do it.
Here we go.
We're back.
We're back. And if you can prepare the outro, that'd be great.
Got you, dude. Don't worry, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. You are our radio and
TV
musician.
Oh.
I opened up for Sean Paul when I was part of a music group. That was pretty sweet. Got to play with
Would
Sean.
you share what the name of your music group is?
Yeah, it was called Bonnie Rash. I'm pretty sure you can't find any of it anymore. So you know what? Do me a favor. Look up Teddy Beats. Teddy Beats was in my group with me, and he is still signed. He's a major label artist. He's dope.
He is
Single
dope.
out now, hold me.
Cool. All right, that's a good job selling for him, which leads into
Sales.
my question, sales. So we talked about your first sale before, but something I'm really interested in is what it was like, the first year or so selling. What were the things that you were doing to get your product into, from one store to 30, 50?
I think that when you have 0 customers, to go to 1 customer is huge, right? When you go from 1 customer to 30, dude, that's huge, right? And so as simple as that was it was me, I knew these stores were selling our product, so I would go into the store and I would have some samples, and I'd find the people that worked yo, have you guys tried this? They go, nah. I go, oh, I brought some bags for you guys. This is so good. You're gonna love it. They try it. They tell one person, wow, that doubled our sales in that store because they told one person. You know what I mean? Wow, that was crazy. And that kind of just got me in the habit of, especially more, I guess, I'd still do it now, but with COVID, you're not in as many social situations. But if we're at expos, we're at a food show, I'm notoriously known for I walk around with a backpack, and that backpack is stuffed with Snacklins. So if I meet anyone and they start talking, I go, oh, there you go, man, here's a bag of chips. You know what I mean? Just having that available, because even though it may not have turned into an immediate, wow, that worked out, those people knew about us, Giant had to get our product at some point, and it may have taken them, it may have taken 2 years for us to finally get big enough to get in there, but they knew about it, and I think just being that gung-ho, they always, salespeople are a weird breed, and I don't think I'm that person, but at least I took the one positive thing was they're willing to talk and sell their product to anybody, and if you're not willing to do that, then you don't know who you're gonna miss.
Well, you're not going to sell.
Then you're just not gonna sell.
If you don't sell, we don't get to have this conversation.
Yeah.
So, you guys are now kind of sharing some of the sales responsibilities, and there's other folks involved in that across the company. You're in 1,000 stores. Your goal is, I wrote down 10,000 eventually. Mm-hmm. 2021, yeah. Q2.
Exactly.
It'll happen.
It's coming. How do you think about sales now, kind of from your perspective, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think you hear this a lot around door count, and some people get really excited and enamored at door count, but the other truism that you hear from folks who have done it well over time is actually growing velocities in those doors, right? You'd rather have 100 stores selling 10 units a week than 1,000 stores selling one, because
and define a velocity.
Right, so just for us, it's how many bags per flavor, per store, per week we're selling. And that's pretty much the be-all, end-all metric for a buyer at a retail store, and that's all they're going to do is look at how you're doing and the places you're currently at. Because for them, it's all about real estate. They have 4 feet. They want as many dollars running through that 4 feet a week as possible. They're going to get the margin they get regardless. It's really how quickly are you selling that product. And so focusing on, if you have 100 stores, really running through product because you have the right promotional calendar set up, you have the right merchandising in the store, you're focusing on just getting people to try it and repeat and come back and come back. So sometimes folks get really excited about kind of spray and pray, give me any doors you want. But if you look back a year later, you're in 5,000 doors and your velocities are crap, your business is probably just going away in the next year or two. So we're really focused on kind of regional infill, mid-Atlantic, Northeast, East Coast, getting into kind of the natural chains and the more progressive conventional chains that we know we should be in, and really moving velocities. Because it really is that stepping stone of you're at Yes and you have 5 or 10 stores and you do really well. Then you're going to Mom's, then you're going to Whole Foods Mid-Atlantic, then you're going to Wegmans, then you're going to Giant. Because again, you need to show the success to go to the next rung of the ladder. You can't just go up 4 levels, and you'll take those calls if they opportunistically come along, but that's really how we focus on it. And then resourcing against that it's an evolving thing. I mean, no one has a silver bullet answer for it. We've tried internal resources. We also lean on brokers in some scenarios. So I think it's a hodgepodge, and you kind of see what works, and we're going to keep evolving to see what partners and resources will help us achieve kind of that plan.
Yeah, so far I'm taking have a great product.
Yep, that's very important.
And velocity is kind of the #1 metric that we're looking at, followed by stores.
Yep.
This is a math problem.
Yep.
But starts with velocity. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. People need to want it again and again and again, and that's what velocity is. It's not one-time buyers. It's 50-time buyers.
I mean, we all have that jar of fucking pickled corn or whatever that we bought at some farmer's market that sits in the back of our fridge. Like, bought it that one chow, great example. You bought it that one time, you never touched it, and then you're not going to go back and buy it again. And I bet if you went back to that same store, you go, hey, you guys got that chow? They go, no one else bought it either. You bought it one time, you never came back.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think, you got, it's no different than your fridge. That's how these people run their stores,
No, it's... When you're trying to get somewhere new, again, it's a real estate game. The shelf's already full. So why are you better than this other bag, better for you chips? Like, it's not only, we're going to turn faster, but we're going to grow with you. We're going to have more flavors. Those guys aren't as good. It's not that antagonistic, but you kind of have to make the case of why do I have to kick out this to put you in there?
Absolutely. Dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They're a business. They need to make money. So dollars leads me into the next thing, which I think is similar to sales, but the idea of you have to capitalize the business. To do all these things, to grow these things, to go to China, to buy equipment, there needs to be some cash, right? And there's different amounts at different times. So Kevin, you've been here for a year and a half, and there's been money, capital that you've been working on, and then Samy, I mean, you were 4 years ago or so trying to figure out what you're going to do to keep the business growing, to invest in machinery, to invest in people, to pay your rent. How are you thinking about raising money? Was it 3-4 years ago?
Honestly, at that point, we were in survival mode. I think, which is the one piece of advice that I tell people. I think a lot of people go, well, we're not ready yet, but you should start prepping yourself to get ready, because I wasn't ready yet, and then when I finally was ready, I was already so far behind. You know what I mean? And so I think that, one of the best things, I always tell people this, like when people ask me about Union Kitchen, I always tell them that, they made me have board meetings, they made me put down minutes, they made me set up an actual structure, they made me keep track of the basic stuff I wasn't doing, and even though that's now, comparatively speaking, Kevin would laugh at that, and he was like, oh my god, that's horrible, but then it was at least enough to get us so we looked like enough of a legit business that when we did need the capital, it wasn't us trying to put together pitch decks, trying to, oh crap, I haven't kept track of this for so many months. I've done this for so many months, like, you know, and really, you know, you have to act like, you know, you have to act like you belong there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you were able to get some money in and kind of build the business, and open up this factory with some of that capital, which is pretty sweet, and I think a fair amount of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood.
mostly blood.
Mostly blood.
We're sitting in it.
It's good. All right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's show business.
Is that your clapper? And we're back, scene 3.
Yeah, we did a clapper.
4.
We got to sync these things, right?
Investment.
Yeah.
We're learning.
Yeah.
Speaking of learning, Kevin, you as a CEO of the company are of course, you know, integral and I think largely in charge of looking at raising capital.
Fair.
In terms of raising capital for the future of the business.
Yeah.
One, is that even mildly true? And two, how are you thinking about that?
It's true in terms of, you know, making numbers tick and tie, but yeah, it's the product is the thing that moves us forward. How we're thinking about it, I mean, I think, you know, there's a lot of flavors to this in CPG. You'll see all the headlines of company raises $10 million, $20 million, and is at a very small scale. And there are some folks who just, that's a high wire act that some people do, and some do it really successfully, right? They raise $25 million at some sky-high valuation, and they're doing $4 million in sales, but then they go and they basically buy $50, $100 million in sales, and they cash out in 3 years. That doesn't usually happen, doesn't happen often, but it's a route that a lot of people take. I'd say we're a little bit more measured in terms of this capital is going to get us hopefully to this point. And you know what we've spent the last 2 years doing is getting the fundamentals right, which is right-sizing the unit economics of this product. Turns out you have to sell the product for more than it costs to make it. And it sounds easy, but it's really, you know, a pretty challenging thing to do when you're trying to price a product competitively in a marketplace that's filled with billion-dollar companies. So I'd like to think we're kind of at that point now, but it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and capital and trying things and making mistakes to get there. So, you know, we were really focused on the fundamentals first and still are. And we're going to see, you know, what capital we really need to hit, you know, some milestone or series of milestones, be it sales, profitability, team, and, you know, really make the plans appropriately against that so that we're not, you know, massively diluting ourselves. We're kind of growing into the valuations that we set out there, and get to a point where, you know, you don't need as much external funding and you're getting things like lines of credit and bank debt and non-dilutive capital because you've been, you know, smart and thoughtful about growing the business kind of one step at a time. We don't want it to take 25 years to get to where we want to be, but, you know, there's a middle ground there too, which I think we're doing decently well.
I think you're doing well. I think you're doing great. All right, cool. So I have one question I like to end with, and it's not one, it's 2 questions, but I'm going to say it in one breath. What is the biggest win that you've had, and what's the biggest loss that you've had? You guys can answer this together in unison or separately. 1, 2.
I would say my biggest win personally is because, I guess my biggest win, if you would have asked me that like 6 months ago, would have been way different than it is now. My biggest win is honestly usually what my most recent win is, because I feel like that's the biggest one. And to me, that's Giant. Like, I have like Giant, that's who I shopped with, you know, when I first moved to DC. I live next to a Giant, that's who I still shop with. And to me, that was always just kind of like the bar. Like, you have made it. Like, you are a Giant. Like, that is DC now. Now you have made it into the DC, you know, DMV kind of culture. And so getting that email from Giant was awesome.
We're going to have to make that a quote and send it directly to Giant.
The day
Chris,
that we found out,
watching.
the day that we found, yeah, please, Chris. The day that we found out, I actually went to Giant and I bought a ton of sushi and I had like a whole Giant party at my place. So they know I love them.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I would say on the plus side, maybe not as specific, but it's the same idea of I still get really excited walking into any store that we are and seeing the product on shelves. Like, it sounds really simple. Like, I'm going to go to the Whole Foods down the street here after this and do a little grocery shopping and check in on our new set with the multi-serve bags, and it gets you really excited. It goes back to what we were talking about, a tangible business. We're making a product that people like, and brings them joy and happiness. And if you sometimes I'll even like hide out in the aisle for a while and
Just
see
watch,
see if someone comes and picks up, and that's exciting. I mean, that's why we do this.
Seeing a customer in the wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really fun.
It's crazy. Like, I knew that we were doing well when I started seeing Snacklins litter. When I was walking down the street and I saw like a litter bag of Snacklins on the floor, I was like,
We did it.
we've made it, guys. And then I picked it up and I threw it in the trash can. But
You're a
at least
responsible person.
for that time, I knew we had made it. Like, yeah, it was good. If we're talking about losses, I guess here, I'll be honest, this was probably a big loss for us. It was a big loss for me personally when it first happened. But I think in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that's ever happened to us. But losing Walmart. Like, we got a chance to go with Walmart. We got invited to their open pitch, open call. I had no effing idea what I was like. We weren't even in Whole Foods in the Mid-Atlantic yet. And Walmart was like, sure, come on by to Bentonville. And I did it, and I somehow convinced them. I think it was a joke. I think they just saw me. They're like, F this guy. Let's take him for a ride right now. And they threw us like in 500 Walmarts. And like, dude, we ate shit. Like,
What year was that? 2018?
I don't even remember
19.
anymore.
19?
Yeah, like 2 years. It was rough, right? But it was a cool little thing. We tested it out. We got it. And honestly, like, having that Walmart name got us to where we needed to get, as far as fundraising, as far as, getting on Shark Tank and stuff like that. But, I always remember one of the first conversations we had with Mark, and he started going through the Walmart, and he goes, then why are we even in the store? Why don't we just drop Walmart? And I was like, okay, cool. As long as we're on the same page, I think we can all do that. And it's like one of those things, like, we just weren't ready, and I think a lot of people look at a big name like that, they go, yeah, I've made it, but no. Now you're competing against, like, in the chip aisle specifically, you're competing against a Frito-Lay driver showing up every day, multiple times a day, and restocking those shelves, and then you, that single item, have to just pray that it ended up on a Walmart truck, that the staff saw it was back, that they even put it on the shelf. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it was like me winning a middle school soccer game, then all of a sudden playing in the World Cup the next week. Like, I got destroyed.
You weren't ready.
I wasn't ready yet. You know what I mean? And I think now in hindsight, like, we go through and like, we now know that we're ready for a lot of these opportunities. And so yeah, it was a big loss, but I still keep my Walmart hat over there as a reminder.
I saw it. It's a good looking hat.
Thank you.
So lesson learned is be ready for what you're doing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Get ready for everything. Get ready for everything.
Yeah, eating shit is the constant.
That's the lesson here.
All right. So lesson is make sure that you're ready for what you're getting into and understanding it. So with Walmart is you needed a whole program to support being on those 500 shelves.
And like, you got to think like when I go to Walmart, I'm not going to them like, ooh, I'm excited to discover something. No, I literally need like 2 things of paper towels, I need a box of cereal, and I need this. Like, I'm not going to discover, but like someone that maybe is at like a Yes Organic or a local store, right? Even like the Union Kitchens, right? Those customers come in because they want to find new stuff. And so when we were first starting off, to be in the places that people were willing to discover was like the key. And then now, now we're doing promos and we have, promo schedules and all that. Like, that's kind of that next level, But when you're first there, it was just about, we were trying to put ourselves in a situation that, no, we need people to discover us first,
Absolutely. And they are. Kevin, do you have a biggest loss, or are you too green? You've only got a year and a half of sunshine.
Like I said, there's a lot of businesses of this size growing this quickly. There's lots of ups and downs, and it's daily, right?
Yeah.
I think that was something I learned going from a very corporate world to the restaurant world, and now here is mentally you have to get smooth that out, because it's a roller coaster ride, right? And like, we live it every day. You get that email a couple weeks ago from Giant, you're up here, something happens, and machine breaks down, you're down here. So if you ride that as it actually comes at you, you'll never make it. It's just sort of saying, okay, kind of living right here is the best we can do. So I think related, it's not one specific thing, but all of the jobs and people on this team and the functions are so interrelated. It's really devastating when you maybe drop the ball or miss an answer, or something happens with a machine or a shipment or whatever, and it impacts everyone. Those are, I think, the gut-wrenching moments we all have, where it's like, oh man, like, that's going to really not just mess up like my day and my to-do list, but a really small team that like has a lot riding on this. So
that's me today. The staff has pissed me because I had a forklift show up like 3 hours late. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Always on time with forklifts.
Always.
I think the lesson there, though, is a good one, which is we all care more about, I think, the others' success and well-being in terms of on our team, and it really hurts us when, like, we might have done something that has cascading effects across the organization because we're not a giant company yet, and you're not as insulated. Everyone is dependent on everyone else doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I certainly believe and hope that you guys will be a very large company, maybe even giant.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
This interview's going to keep on going. I got to eat something.
Well, so we have the chief snack bagger, Samy, and we have the CEO, Kevin, of Snacklins. And they're crunchy. If you want to make a crunch sound, I can make a crunch sound in front of the microphone.
Beer right up in there. Oh, yeah. Mmm. These are some good chips, guys. I don't know if you ever had them before. First
They're
time.
great. Barbecue.
Delicious.
Wow.
Delicious.
The seasoning is exactly what I'm looking for.
Shut up. I know what you're saying there.
Do you have any parting words, Samy, for us?
I just want to say thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for enjoying this deliciously amazing audio/video combination.
Text. We're going to do it all.
Yeah, we're going to do text too. This will be out on ebook here as well soon. So look for us on jeffbezos.com. And yeah, I don't know. Cullen, you have anything else to say? Kevin, anything else to say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no.